Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses, and our goal is to share our experience and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Strap in. Tyler, we're back with two new sets again, as always. Always keeping our audience on their toes. You're going old handheld over there. It's so exciting.
You're in a new set too?
Not a new set, but new compared to last week.
That's true. Yeah, I'm in a new set here too. I'm going to hopefully try and hold my mic as close to my mouth as possible. And hopefully it's not too bad and I don't drift away from my mic. But yeah, it's going to be a fun episode holding this whole freaking arm. But yeah, we got this. We're no excuses.
Exactly. You're going to have a freaking huge, you're going to have a quagmire right arm by the end of this episode. But hey, I had to hold the mic last week and it was something, but we got her done. So your turn this week.
Yes, it is. But yeah, we're out here. How's it going with you? What's going on? Anything new? I feel like we just talked, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah. What is new with me? So I can't remember if we talked about my van last episode, but yeah, because we must have talked about my van. But anyways, if we didn't talk about my van, the serpentine belt exploded, fell off. It's now fixed, so I'm going to get that tomorrow, which is exciting news. And other than that, it's still cold here in North Dakota, and had a busy week. I had 3 shoots this week, so it's kind of busy, but things are going well. Had a couple new people reach out for some projects. One project I had reach out today, get a grip of this, get a load of this. 18 videos, 30 minutes each, and each video has 3 hours worth of B-roll to cut down.
Wow, that's going to be a fun project.
She sent it to me and she said, "Hey, can you just give me a ballpark estimate? The client needs it ASAP." And then said, "Please," after. And I was like, they need this fast. I was like, I don't even know what to say. I said, it's going to be $9,000, maybe more.
Damn, that's it? I feel like that's not even a lot.
That is accounting for, I think it was like 120 hours of editing or something like that, which is 3 weeks for an editor, a full-time editor. So I'm thinking if I can get it down, this is the project that leads me into hiring a full-time editor, or at least a part-time editor.
That's exciting. Finally making the move.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been talking, one of my shoots yesterday, one of my clients I've been working with for a long time. He's been saying, "Hey, when are you going to get help?" And I'm like, "Dude, I've been trying, but an editor around here." So I texted a guy I know that does some editing. He is working full-time at his job right now. And he said he would not be able to, the soonest he'd be able to leave at all would be May. So that's not ideal. He said, "I can do some part-time editing for you in the meantime." So I'm still kind of doing that search, finding someone that would be the right fit. But yeah, I think it's going to help, especially closing a job like that. Like if you can close a $9,000 contract, I can literally just say, okay, that's at least 2 months pay for this person for editing.
Is that going to be like full year, or is it only over a span of a couple months, or what's the deal with that? Is it going to be like a multi-year type of contract
for the project? No, I think it's just a one-off project, and they're applying for a grant to be able to shoot this stuff. And I was like, well, how much is a grant worth? And I didn't really know what to charge. So I said 9,000 plus. I said, that's the minimum that I can give. I said, I won't know any more information until I get a better idea of what these videos are looking like, how much is going to go into each video. So excited to hear back, and hopefully she's like, yeah, let's run with it. And then I'll hire someone to do it for $6,000 and pocket 3.
There you go. Simple enough. I know it's been only like 3 days since we last talked, but has there been any lessons you learned in the past week or past few days, or anything you'd like to share?
Lessons. I don't think so. I started reading the book Atomic Habits. So that's been kind of a game changer.
That's a popular one.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those staple business books that everyone talks about. So that book's been good. It's been I'm only 2 chapters in, but the first part talking about implementing these strategies has been good. Damn.
Bless you. Yeah, so I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I listened to a podcast with James Clear in it, and it was really interesting the amount of effort and time that they put into marketing his book, he basically reached out to hundreds of different podcasts that he thought that he could add value to. And basically what he said is, I got this book coming out. I think I'd be able to offer X value. And basically what ended up happening is he got booked on about 50 podcasts, and he's like, I'd like you to release it on this date. And that's when his book was being released. And they said it was all within a time range. And some people were like, we can do this week, we can do that week. But basically, over a span of about 2 weeks, when his book was being launched, he was on like 50 different podcasts all at the same time. So he's got this massive coverage, and it was pretty interesting hearing like all the info or everything that he went through to market his book. And that's what Riley and I are going to actually try and do when we try and launch our new stuff with Nuevo. So it was really interesting hearing that.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. It's almost like guerrilla advertising, I guess you could say. And it's smart that he thought to even do that, because thinking of doing something like that, the average Joe is not going to think of that. What is new on your end, Tyler? Anything?
Yeah, so we actually got an order. It was the first time this actually happened, but it got flagged as high risk. And basically we've been trying to deal with it, figure it out, and we really want it to be real and not high risk, but it's looking like it's going to be high risk, and mainly because it's one of our watch cases that was in the order, and it was a pretty big order, and we're like, we really want this to go through, but we're both leaning towards it being fraudulent. And we downloaded a third-party app that tests it out and does some different verifications to try and figure out if it is real, if it's not real. And I don't really know what they do, but I think they sent a verification email. We haven't gotten anything back. It's just been chilling there. If it's a fraud order, it's fine, because it's just going to be chilling there. But if it's not a fraud order, the customer might be a little bit upset. But we're both leaning towards, because the address, when you look it up, it's just like this empty lot in the middle of nowhere. It's not really in the middle of the nowhere, but it's an empty lot. And so we're dealing with that, trying to figure that out. Hopefully it's probably going to be a fraudulent order. And also, it's kind of funny. We had this customer, they wanted to return a product, and they called Riley because we have his number on Google My Business, and he didn't pick up the first time. He's like, what's going on? Who's calling me? Whatever. And then he ended up calling that number back, and it was that customer. So it was pretty interesting. He called me a couple hours before this. So it was pretty funny that the customer called him and he got to interact with him. And that's the first time we actually got to actually speak with a customer. So that was kind of funny when he called me and let me know about that.
Okay. So then I want to go back to the fraudulent order then. Would you know it's fraudulent? Like, I assume the payment and everything hasn't gone through yet, or how would you know that it's fraudulent? Because if the payment goes through, I'd ship it to the middle of the Atlantic if I had to.
Yeah, that's what I'm not too sure if it's gone through or when it goes through or how it works. But basically, Shopify, within its whole builder or whatever, it evaluates it on basically the card, the addresses. Are they similar? Are they different? Where are they located? Because where it's being shipped compared to where it's being billed is like LA or California to Florida or whatever. So it's just, there's a lot of pieces that don't look cohesive. And basically it goes through and shows you different evaluations that it does. And there are some green, which means good, verifications with the order, and then there's quite a few red ones with the order saying, so I'm not really sure when the actual charge goes through. I don't think it does. And I was like, because I think what happens if we end up charging the card, then it will eventually come back, and then it'll be like Shopify gets dinged and then we get dinged. So I'm not really sure how it works. This is our first order that it's happened to, and we're trying to dig into it a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully it's not fraudulent, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't look super promising. Anything else you want to add before we get into this week's topic? Anything else going on?
Not really. We just met like a couple days ago, so it hasn't been a very long time. But
we've had no time to do anything.
Yeah, not enough time in the day.
Exactly. Honestly, dude, I've been feeling like that lately, man. I've been just grinding. I'm waking up at 7, which I started doing that, and then just working until 10, 11 at night. And I'm like, man, I still didn't get everything done, which is good. It's good to be busy, but it's a perfect transition in this week's episode. I was honestly going to say that. I said, maybe you should just like lean it against your chair or something like that. There you go.
Yeah. Hopefully, do you think the mic will pick it up good if it's like this?
It's got to be
like this.
Maybe I think it should be like that. Yeah. And then point it more towards your mouth. There you go.
Perfect. There we go.
Deal. But yeah, that's perfect transition into this week's topic. We're going to be talking about valuing your time and the importance of doing so, and the struggles and the things we've learned when actually trying to value our time and picking up things here and there that maybe we should have said no to. And I think, Tyler, that's one thing it boils down to, is that you have to learn to say no. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like I struggle with that quite significantly. I've been talking with a few different people, and honestly, I just want to help out, and I struggle with this a lot. So I'd like to hear a lot of your opinions, because I know I've been asking you for a lot of help in this area and realm. So this was a big reason that I wanted to talk about this, because I feel like you're a little bit more experienced with this. You know how to, I feel like, especially just starting out, it can be a little bit scary or intimidating charging people and being like, hey, this is going to be $1,000 or this is going to be $5,000. And it's like really intimidating just sending that number to them. So I feel like I'd like to hear a lot about what you think about valuing your time, and especially just starting out, how you went about that.
Yeah. So starting out, I 100% felt the same exact way you're feeling. Like, it is intimidating. I remember the first time I sold a video project for $1,000. I was so scared to tell the client that it was $1,000. I was like, they're going to literally spit on my face. Like, this is an absurd number. And when I ended up telling them $1,000, they're like, okay, sounds good. And then they just paid me cash. And I'm like, man, okay, That wasn't that scary. Yeah. That was super early on. Like, I didn't have any of the structures or the processes down of even how to take payments or anything, or a client experience to walk them through. But it was difficult in the beginning, trying to think, what is my time worth? What is this thing I'm offering worth? But I ended up learning that you just have to say it, and you have to be confident in the thing that you're selling. So you'll never want to say that this costs X amount of dollars if you don't actually believe in the product and the service you're selling. But when you believe that your product or service does what you say it does, really you can say any price. And if someone says no, you just say, okay, well, I know that the value that I'm giving you is worth more than what I'm charging, so that's your loss. That's kind of how I look at it now.
How did you get to that point where you see the value in it, or you know this is what it's worth, or whatever it may be? How did you get to that point?
I think it's twofold. I don't think I ever got to the point where I just thought, you know what, this is worth it. I think it stemmed from, I have to up my prices because I was getting too busy at the prices I was at. So then I just naturally had to up them, because I couldn't take on any more projects. I was doing things for $200 and then $300 and then $250. And it's like, okay, if I have 25 of these projects, I'm getting stretched so thin with these smaller project and the smaller price point that I'm not able to take on any more. So once I started moving them up, yeah, I lost a few clients, but I was able to put more effort into the clients I was working with, and I was making the same amount of money, if not more. So I think it stemmed from, okay, I'm upping my prices because I have to. And then it also stemmed from, I kind of stopped caring. I'm like, I don't care what the client says, if they like it or not. Like we talked about earlier, a $9,000 project. If they say no to me, I don't care. It's like, whatever. Right. But if I was in dire need, it's like, I need this money, I'd maybe tell them a lower number and then just battle through it. So I think it comes from that too. I mean, if you don't really have, if you're gouging and you're scraping and you need every last penny, that's not going to help you when wanting to pitch higher prices.
It seems a little bit like supply and demand. When you have a lot of demand, and then your time becomes more valuable because there's a lot of people that want you. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the more people that want you, I think it, even if you don't realize it yourself, that in it of itself means that your time is worth more. If a lot more people are wanting to do business with you and talk to you and have meetings with you and buy your services or your products, well, something's going on there that means, okay, well, this must be super valuable. So if you can't realize that, you need to start looking at it a little bit more, realizing, okay, maybe my time is worth a lot more than I think it is because of all these people that want to work with me or talk with me or whatever it might be. And even if it's people, that reach out to you on Instagram, or you have people asking a bunch of questions like, hey, how do you do this? Or how do you go about this? You start to realize, okay, maybe I know a lot more than I thought I did. And really that just comes from experience, because no one was reaching out to me in the beginning at all.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but when you're working with people that do you find it harder to charge them or easier?
It depends. No as in like I know the client, or no as in like close friend or family?
Friend or family.
I thought it was harder, and I always used to give the old friends and family discount. And then I realized I don't know if people even do that, because I was working with one family member and I was like, oh, I'll just do it for this price. She's my family member. And then it's like, they didn't really want to do it for that price. I'm like, okay, well, I even cut costs on that. And now I just send, I might take off a thing here or there, but I'm like, hey, this is the price. You get a little bit of back scratching, but it's the same. You're just like any other client. And you have to almost draw the line of, okay, I know you're my friend and family, but right now you're a potential client.
Yeah. I feel like it's a little bit easier when it's someone that you don't know and they come to you and it's like, hey, can I get this? That, like, they know you have a business. Yeah. They know you obviously pay for it. So I feel like that's a little bit easier, because if someone came to me and said, hey, can I hire you to do X? It's a little bit easier for me to say that. Whereas when I'm going out to people and then you got to prove your worth type of deal, I feel like it's a little bit easier when they're coming to you, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And going on to the prove your worth aspect of it, I almost, and maybe I did this in the beginning, I don't recall, but I don't ever go out there and try to prove like, hey, I'm worth this money you're spending, because I internally know, I'm like, hey, I know this is worth it, what you're getting. If you don't see it, it's unfortunate. I can kind of talk to you about why it is worth it, in my opinion, but I'm never trying to sell people or really win them over or change their mind. So I know that's probably off topic of what you were asking, but I just wanted to throw that topic on there about the old proving you're worth it. And obviously you have to prove you're worth it with the work. I can't just, hey, here's $5,000 and then be like, here's an iPhone video. But I never go above and beyond to like sell someone or convince somebody.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
Because what are you struggling with in the beginning? Yeah. Like, what's the main pain point you think you're having with valuing your time?
I just feel like I don't know what it's worth, because I feel like I'm worth this, but I don't think I have the credentials yet. You know what I'm saying? Where so I don't really have the experience to prove that I can do it, but I know that I can do it, and I know that I can do it at a quality. And then it's like, this is what I think it's worth. I think it's worth more, but I just don't really know what my time's worth, because especially when I compare it to my job, it's like, I feel like I'm worth a lot more than what I make at my job. But when I go out on my own, it's really tough to value it, because I don't know. Yeah.
My advice for that would be, because I kind of had the same issue, is one, and maybe this alludes to, things you're offering, maybe you have nothing to show, because that's something you had before. Someone came up to you and or you had a conversation with someone to do a video and you didn't really have anything to show them. So how I go about that is, if you're in the creative service, whether it's photography, videography, or marketing, maybe it's ad spend stuff, you have to figure out what you're worth. We'll talk about that next. But before any of that, you need to have a portfolio of work to show somebody. And the one thing I always thought when I started my business was, I'm going to either do it for free or I'm going to charge full price. I don't want to be in that gray area. So if it was ever a piece for a portfolio, like, hey, I just need to build my portfolio, all that work I was doing was for free. And that's something I'd recommend to creatives, is that, hey, if you wanted to get into the photography industry, taking pictures of elegant food, go shoot 10 different projects for free of elegant food, and boom, now you have that portfolio. So then the 11th company that you want to work with, now you're charging full price. So instead of, your third project where you have a couple things you could show them, but it's not really that much. And you're like, well, maybe I'll charge $200 instead of 800, what I want to charge. Just do that one for free. And then once you have that portfolio to back it off of, then you can just start charging full price from there. And to transition into that, what is full price? I think you need to pick a price, whatever it is. For the video, I do a day rate and then editing fees on top. And then if there's any expenses, like if there's music licensing or if I have to rent something or travel, those are added in there. And then stick to that price, whatever it might be. And then just gauge on the next, few conversations you have. Are people loving this price? Is everyone saying yes? Is everyone saying no? Then you can kind of adjust those numbers depending on the responses you're getting after you pick those numbers. Because if everyone's saying yes, well, then you can raise your prices, double them. If you double them and everyone's still saying yes, okay, raise them even more. And then once you kind of start to get that balance of a lot of people are saying no, a lot of people are saying yes, then you might be in that sweet spot. That was a lot of words. Does that make sense?
But wouldn't you end up targeting a whole different market once you start raising your prices?
Ideally, you want to start targeting the higher end clients.
So that would just become you're up-leveling your services because you're getting more experience, more knowledge, and better quality, which means that you're able to serve better clients that are willing to pay more.
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. If I'm working with a $500 company, they're great. They're awesome about $500. And then I raise my prices to $1,000, that $500 company might not want to work with me, but the $750 client might. So the $750 client's going to say yes for sure at $500. But then when you move to $1,000, that $750 client, you won't get them all, but you'll get a couple to say yes. And then once you start getting the $750, it'll move up. Okay, now I'm getting $1,000 clients. And then it's just that cycle repeating itself. So the previous clients you have are lending yourself into the bigger clients, but it's a slow increase.
So I know you have like a flat fee, and then you also have an hourly rate that you charge. How did you come up with your hourly rate?
Guessed, honestly. For editing, it's 60. I charge $60 an hour, which I think I'm going to up it just because it's been $60 an hour for a couple of years. And for about 3 years there, I would move it. So I think I started at $30 an hour for the editing services. And then the year after that, I went up to 40. And then after that, I just went to 60, and it's been at 60 since then. And then my day rates went from $600 a day to $800, and now they're at $1,200 a day, which I'm thinking I might have to move up. I thought about moving them up to $1,500, and I've been testing it a little bit with a couple clients, just throwing them ranges. So if a project, a 2-day shoot, I'd usually do for like $2,400, I'm starting to throw them, okay, it'll be between 25 and $3,000. Okay, so then if they're like, okay, that's fine, then maybe I can do $1,500 a day and get to that $3,000 number. So I think it's a fluid thing, but finding those numbers to start in the beginning, you kind of just have to throw something at it, whatever your best guess is, and then go from there. You can almost compare it to, if you had a job, a full-time job doing it, what would you not be happy having, not overly excited about, but what would you be comfortable doing? So if you want to get paid $30 an hour working in-house editing video, okay, maybe start it there. And then once you start to do it, you can up it and up it and up it.
So when you first started out and you first started your hourly rate, did you look at competition? Did you look online for what other people were charging? Did you ask around? Did you just literally throw it at the wall and see if it stuck?
I think I just started so low that clients couldn't say no. Like, it's like, hey, I'll give you the world for $200. It's like, okay. They're like, sure. Awesome. And then I upped it a little bit, and it's like, okay, now I'll give you a little bit more for $300. And it was in the beginning, man, it was so cheap, like so low, where I just would do everything. And then I started to realize, okay, I can't really do this. So yeah, in the beginning, I kind of did just throw it at the wall because I thought, $30 an hour for editing. If I got paid $60K a year, I'd be like, man, this is awesome. I could just edit videos for $60K. And then I realized that, okay, not all my time is editing. I need to up this a little bit. So yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I do think it's just you kind of have to pick a number, and then just ballpark in your head, how long is this going to take? Like if you're editing photos and you think, well, the editing of the photos is going to take 3 hours, plus the shooting is going to take 3 hours. It's 6 hours total. So the shooting will be sweet if I could shoot photos for the whole year and I get paid $50 an hour to shoot photos. That'd be $100,000. Okay. And then the editing on top of that. Okay. Maybe, you know, if I had to edit photos for the whole year, I'd charge $40 an hour for 3 hours, $120. Okay. So then now you got, what is that? 150, 120. Now you're charging $280. Or maybe, yeah, something around there, 270. It's like, okay, I'd be happy with that. And then you move on to the next project and you think, man, I got 4 projects at once right now. I need to like start charging more. And it's like, okay, well, let's up the prices a little bit.
So let's say for you, for an example of you, let's say you've been working with a company doing, say, video services. So you have the experience, you have the knowledge, but you don't necessarily have the portfolio, the work to back it up to show that your experience, your knowledge, whatever it is. How would you go about that, getting your first clients, valuing your time?
I think in the beginning, it's you just, in the beginning, I would do it. You have to decide, do you want to do it for free or do you want to try to charge this person? If you think there's a 0% chance, if you charge them at what you want to charge, you're not going to close them. I would just do it for free just so you can get a few things under your belt. And then once you have 3 to 5 projects, then you start charging. But I think it's really hard to do anything without a portfolio or without some sort of, hey, look at what I've done. It's really hard to charge anyone money doing that. That's why I'm such a big fan of spec work.
Yeah, but so let's get off videography. Let's say you're a plumber or you're a marketing expert and you've been in the field, you've been working for someone, and now you want to branch off and do your own thing. How do you go about valuing your time? How do you go about getting clients? How do you go about pitching, hey, this is going to be worth X amount of dollars?
I think in the beginning, let's use you, for example, marketing expert, right? Yep. Let's say you quit your job and tomorrow you're working for yourself full time, right? How do you value your time in the beginning? What are you going to charge? Honestly, if you don't have any actionable things you can show them from your previous place of employment, I don't know if you can charge anything. But if you go to your first 3 companies and you say, hey, I've been doing marketing for this amount of time. I don't really have anything in my portfolio of my own right now. I could show you what I've helped these clients with, but really I want to go in here. I'd like to work with you guys for a month and I'd like to use you guys as a case study so I can start to get clients down the road. That's the route I would take. And yeah, your value of your time might be super low and shitty for the first month, but after that month, you'll have 3 projects where you can go to the next client and say, hey, here's the 3 clients I've worked with. Here's the things we've worked on. Here's what we achieved. But without that, it's really hard to just go to, and honestly, I found that just being straight up honest with whoever you're talking to, just telling them your situation, be like, hey, I just started. You don't have to fake it till you make it. Just say, I just started and I'd like to use you guys as a portfolio piece. Would you mind? And a lot of times there's been a couple clients when I started, they paid me for it just because.
Yeah. I feel like that's the business model that we somewhat touched on or talked about, where it's, hey, let me come into your place of business. I'll take a bunch of pictures, a bunch of videos. I'll send it to you. If you like it, awesome. You can pay me if you want. If not, that's awesome too. I'm just trying to build up my portfolio. And I know that was something that we talked about before. And another thing that I was told to do is go to local places of business, see if they aren't running any promotional activities, say with emails, say, hey, what is your revenue that you're currently running? And let's say I'm able to 10x it or whatever it is. Let's give me a portion of that. And so whatever, a portion of your increase. So say we're at $50,000 and I increase it to $60,000, 10% increase, or I don't know what that is. That's probably not a 10% increase, but whatever it is, and I get 10% of whatever I increase it. So then I get X amount of dollars. So that was another route that I was told to maybe try and go down, which is an interesting approach because then it's basically performance-based. It's not a retainer-based, where I think that would be interesting for you to try out. And maybe that's once you branch out into, say, an ad stream or different other services like funnels, and maybe it's like increasing a business's bottom line revenue, and then it's like I think there's a higher upside, but at the same time, there's a bigger risk of no return. But I think that's a good opportunity, especially when you're just starting out, because you're either going to be charging really low or you're going to be charging for free. And if you're going to be charging for free, I think it's a good opportunity to say, hey, let me do this performance based. And if it goes well, sure, give me a percentage. But if it doesn't go well, you lose nothing. All that happens is I spent a little bit of time and I tried to help you out. That's the only downfall for you.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of payment outside of just straight cash for service or cash for product. I actually had a client, we ended up not doing this, but they were low on budget and they had an event that they wanted me to shoot. And I said, hey, how about you just give me, we'll just barter. I'll come do the services, not to the full extent that you want them, but I'll give you enough to get you by and to hit the goal you're looking for. And you give me a couple entries into this event that you're doing. And I can enter my own team, and then maybe someone else can enter. Like I'll give it to one of my other clients as like I appreciate you type thing. And that was the bartering service. The other service that you're talking about where it's performance based, I've had a couple conversations, not many, but a few conversations with clients where they don't see the value of a high ticket item. So let's say I charge $5,000 for this video. They don't see the value of it. And I've talked to them in the meeting. I said, okay, well, if you don't see the value of it, I said, how about we just do X amount of dollars? Let's say it's $1,000. And then for every 10% of a sale that comes from this video, even if you make $250,000, okay, I get 10% of it. And then they always backtrack saying, well, because if they get $250,000, all of a sudden they go from paying me $5,000 to now they're paying me $25,000. So that's how I have that conversation about value. It's like, okay, well, we can do a performance based because I know it works. I know you're going to get X amount of traffic. Let's just do it that way then. I said, it's still going to help you. You're still going to get all the customers and clients, but then you'll just pay me on a percentage base. So usually when I outline it like that, they tend to back up and they say, well, we don't know if we want to pay you, because if it goes super well, if they made $1 million, okay, now you owe me $100,000. Now it helps in my end too, because I don't know, it's up in the air. I don't know if it's actually going to bring them that many clients. I have an idea that it's going to help, but nothing's for certain. But I am a big advocate of the different avenues of payment other than, just straight cash. That's what they used to do back in the day, man. Just trade the Silk Road.
We should both try that out. I should try and find some local company and do some like email services for them if they don't do like newsletters or whatever, and see if I can increase their revenue. And you should try it out. Maybe just try one project. Be like, hey, this is free for you. It's only going to cost you if what I end up doing does really well and increases your revenue. I'd be interested, and then we could come back and compare results on the podcast. That'd be really interesting.
What you should do is somehow start a US based company or figure out a Canadian based company that I can pay you, so I can offer that as a service, and then we just partner. So you do all the ads and the marketing and the emails and all that shit, and I can just do the video side. Because I literally had a strategy call with a client right before this, and I pitched him a funnel. I said, hey, it's going to take about 5 videos. We're going to do a front-facing ad for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. They're going to push them to a landing page. They're then going to get hit with a little bit longer of a sales video. Below that's going to be a few testimonials, Jane Doe, John Doe, and Mike Johnson. And then below that's going to be a lead form. And they were asking me, they're like, well, do you guys run the ads? How do we do the ads? Like, we run some of our own boosted Facebook posts, but like, that's not something we do a ton of. And I personally don't do it either. I have a couple contacts of people that I work with, but if you figured out how to start that company, then I could just funnel leads to you with this new system I've been implementing.
That'd be sweet. I wonder how we would be able to go about that. I don't know if I'd have to create it as a Canadian company, and then you just pay me in American, and then it would end up being cheaper for you because of the exchange rate. But I'm not really sure how it would work. There's
got to be some way. I mean, American companies pay Canadian companies all the time.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be a way, because even with Shopify in our business with Nuevo, you can just flick the switch to Canadian dollars to American dollars.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That can be your research for tonight. You figure out how we can do this partnership, Tyler, and I'll be your first case study client.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
There you go. And then I could just
And then it's
tack
one
it on
step
top,
closer.
tack it on top. Yeah. Tack it on top to the client's bill. Say, hey, it's going to be X amount of dollars a month for my team over here, Tyler, to actually run the ads. And then you have to have X amount of dollars in ad spend, you know?
Yeah. There was a podcast I was listening to by Hermosi, and he talked about one of his buddies. They run a marketing agency, and it's really interesting. One of the avenues of revenue that they have coming in, and it's basically a front for the ad spend. So basically they work with, I think it's like Fortune 50 companies. So these guys are spending millions of dollars on ads. And one month they might say, hey, we want to spend $300 million on ads. And basically the whole premise of this business is convenience. So they front the money. So they have this really big line of credit. They got like $1 billion line of credit.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is they'll front the money on the ad spend. They'll pay the ads $300 million through the line of credit. Say the line of credit is like 3%. And basically what they'll end up doing is charging the client 5-6%. So basically they get the percent increase or percent profit margin from the line of credit to that. And it's an interesting revenue model because he says basically rich people will pay for convenience. So if we front the money and then we charge them like a percent increase or interest, that would be an interesting. I told that to my company here, the CEO. I'm like, interesting model that we could potentially implement. Yeah.
No, and that's true. There's so many different avenues that people don't think of, and it's really just getting creative, really digging deep in that brain, you know, figuring out what the hell's in that thing, you know? What kind of fun shit can we do? How can we get clients on board? That's what I'm starting to learn.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many different opportunities to make money, and you just don't hear about like that little opportunity right there where you're taking the line of credit, you're paying for the Facebook ads, and then you're charging the client for the Facebook ads with an interest rate.
Yeah.
You don't really think about it when you don't associate with yourself. So there's like so many different ways to make money out there that you probably have never even heard of or thought of because you don't surround yourself around that or you haven't tried it. So it's just branching out and listening to other people and opening your eyes to new opportunities.
Yeah, the amount of information out there that it's crazy. Like you don't know until you don't know. Like you never know that revenue model until you hear it on a podcast or read it in a book or someone tells you, someone in your network tells you. So it's super interesting. Going back to your office now, is your company you work for US based or Canadian based?
So it's US based. They had to go through a third party that pays me. So
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Are you the only Canadian employee then?
I am.
Nice.
International.
I was gonna say, well, how the frick if they could pay you, I could somehow pay you. But that makes sense. Okay, cool.
I'm basically an employee for them. Like
for the third party.
I'm an employee for the third party, but still kind of under an umbrella of Builder Funnel. So
okay.
You could hire me as an employee, but I feel like we'd want to create a business and then it'd be like a partnership.
Yeah,
type of deal.
That's more so what I would want to go with. But that's interesting.
Sure.
I mean, it'd be cool if you could figure out, do some research on how that works, because I assume there's got to be a way. There's no way there's not a way. If there's a will,
honestly,
there's a way.
There's a way. I honestly feel like you would just pay me, and then you would just pay me in American. It would convert to Canadian, and I feel like that's all it would be. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Can you cash we'll American checks up there?
Oh yeah, we love American.
So if I wrote you a check right now for Tyler Sinnen, you could go cash it at Toronto International Bank.
I don't think I would be able. I might be able to go to the bank and do that, but I think I might have to go to. It's a train station, and then they just convert it. So
okay.
I feel like the bank could do it too, and then they would just automatically do it. Yeah, I do.
Oh, just freaking cash into that. You have a social security number in America?
Yeah, I do. I worked here.
You're basically an American. We could do. I've always wanted to do something with Swiss banks. I see it in movies all the time. Let's figure out how to do that. Let's go offshore,
That's what the rich people do.
Yeah.
We'll
all right.
there.
Anything else on valuing time, Tyler?
I don't know. We got really off topic on.
That's right. I kind of liked it. It was a good little sesh.
Conversation.
Yeah, that's good. I think there's a lot of valuable information in there.
I hope so. That's the main goal of the podcast, is have a good conversation, have some valuable information as well. And I hope we did provide a little bit of that. I don't know. I just struggle with valuing my time, and I thought it would be a good topic, and hope that you would be able to share some of your insights over the years, how you were able to value your time and how you came to a decision of what you value and how you chose those numbers.
Yeah. And it's the one thing I've started to learn that I didn't touch on earlier is you have to almost look at it from a value standpoint of, yeah, you value your time. You might think you're worth $100 an hour, but if whatever you're providing is not worth more than that, then there's a weird imbalance. Does that make sense? So if I say this video is $6,000 and really the most it's ever going to bring a client back is $4,000, well, then it doesn't make sense. But if I say, hey, this video is $5,000 and I know that video can get them, if it gets them one sale, it makes them 20,000. Well, then it makes a ton of sense. So really you kind of have to look at what's the value to the person that you're offering these services to. And that really dictates what your time is worth and how to value your time more than what your internal feeling is. Because then it gets really emotional. It's like, well, I think I'm worth this. It's like, okay, yeah, but no, if nobody pays you that, then you're not worth that.
Is it though? Because when I think about, say, Hormozy, and he says what his hourly rate is, I don't know what he says, like $150,000. How do you justify that? Like, you know what I mean?
If I pay $150,000 to Alex Hormozy, am I going to get $150,000 worth of valuable information out of it? That's how I view it. And honestly, I might, because that he's started 4 multi-million-dollar companies. And if I have an hour to like really pick his brain and say, hey, what would you do in my company? That $150,000 hour might double my growth in my company. You know, if I have if I have a strategy and he can get me over $150,000 of revenue in my business, it might be worth it. Which honestly, thinking about it, he probably knows. Like if I asked him, what would you do if you were running my company?
Yeah, he always gives the example of, I don't know what I don't know. So if I were to sit with, say, Elon Musk, he doesn't know what he would ask him because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. So he struggles with coming up with the right questions to ask. Yeah. And I feel like if I were to sit with him, it's like, I don't know what I would ask.
I think when you get to a level like he is, where he just wants to be in the room with Elon Musk because he doesn't know what to ask because he's built all these businesses. Like he feels like he might have already found a strategy. You know, maybe a question he could ask Elon Musk is like, how do I get to $1 billion? You know? Whereas if I sat with Alex Hormozy, I'd say, hey, how do I get to the first $1 million? I'm sure there's everything out there. Like, give me an actionable step-by-step plan. What would you do in my company? Would these be the services you're selling? Would you hire here? I'd pretty much just ask for a step-by-step business plan of what to do. But that'd be it right now. Currently, I couldn't afford $150K. At the time I could afford $150K, I might not ask the same questions because it's like, well, I'm at $2 million a year. Why do I need a business plan on how to do it?
I don't know if that would be the right question, but I don't know.
At this current stage, what would you ask him?
Fuck, I don't know.
Like if you were talking about Nuevo, if you had an hour, and it's not one question you have with him, but that might be the first one that I would ask him.
I would basically say our game plan and the direction that we want to go, and ask him what his thoughts are and if he thinks we're going in the right direction. Probably. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if
and
that
then
would
after
be the
that,
right question or not.
I don't think you'll ever know if it's right or wrong, though. I think you just ask one and it stumbles into 28 different questions.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think we're near anytime soon having a one-on-one meeting with him, but maybe. All right,
highly doubtful.
Let's get into this week's business topic. I actually just thought of it about 40 minutes ago because I had one. I forgot to write it down a couple days ago, and it was really irking me, and I couldn't think of it today. So the new one I have is some sort of so I was wiping my ass when I was doing this, some sort of toilet paper thing that gives you whatever your preferred style of wiping is. So if you're like a 4-folder, that you just reach over and grab it and you have it ready for you. If you're a guy that balls your stuff up, yeah. If you're a guy that balls your paper up, it just crumples it up for you and sets it there and you grab it. So you're taking out those minimal times when you got to pull it and then you got to hold it and then you got to put it in your hand properly. No, it's just sitting there. You grab it, wipe.
Pre-folded TP. Man, what an idea. Have you ever tried dude wipes?
I have them literally, yeah, over there.
Oh man, those are great. Those are my favorite. But man, I don't know what this idea. How would you package it?
I don't know. It'd be some automated
thing. Does it just
I
come in a box
drill
like
into my
Kleenex?
Drill into my fucking. No, it'd be some automated thing I drill into my cabinet.
It just automatically folds it for you.
Well, I think it would have settings. So there's like a 3-fold. Maybe there's like a mummy.
A ball.
You have cool names for them, and then there could be the ball. Yeah. And then all you do is you stick like 6 toilet paper tubes, and then you're good for, I don't know how long it takes you to go through 6 if it's a
just
diarrhea
feed the
month or
machine.
not, but yeah, you stick them in there and then you're good.
Oh man. The mummy, is that where you just wrap your whole hand?
Yeah,
This is quite the business idea, man.
One of these, yeah. We go from niche smells, talking about freaking cigarette smoke carpet smells, to this shit one. My business ideas are always fun. It's a little break from the other people that they hear your business idea and they're like, yeah, that's good. They hear mine and they're like, why am I listening to this podcast?
Yeah.
But that's all right. I think it's a hit.
Okay. It's a big hit. Big hit.
He could say, hey, we're talking about valuing your time. You need those extra 3 minutes. Okay. You know, you can do it on 3 minutes.
Let me ask you a question since we're talking about valuing your time. Do you think the people listening got their time worth of listening to the episode?
I think so.
In what sense? How do you think it valued their time?
I think that the people that we're hoping to target in this episode, people that are maybe struggling with valuing their time, they don't know how to charge, or they don't know what their time is worth. I think there's actionable information in there to start charging what they're worth, or to start implementing a portfolio, or how to deal with clients and how to have those conversations in the beginning phases. What do you think?
Yeah, I struggle with this, so I'm leaning on you for this, and I was just gonna ask, what's like one actionable piece of advice to leave them on if they are struggling or they're just starting out? What do you think they should go out and do?
I think you have to have an internal look into what your current situation is and what you're trying to do. So if you are trying to go out on your own and you are struggling to learn how to charge these clients or whatever it might be, look at yourself first and think, do I need a portfolio? I'd start there, whatever it is. It's tough if you're doing like a product business and retail. Like, I don't know a ton about that, but if you're in service-based business, if you need a portfolio, I think action step number 1 would be to go out there and get some free work under your belt, get a portfolio. And then action step number 2, if you're already past that, is pick a number, pick your rates, whatever it is, hourly or daily or a mix of both, and then start charging full price for those. And then over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months with these conversations you're having with people, start to gauge their responses and really look at, are a lot of people saying yes? Are a lot of people saying no? And then start to adjust your rates based on what their answers are.
Okay. I like it. This is more so for myself. I think this is where I struggle with is picking the offer. I've always struggled with having an offer. So find an offer that you're going to offer to people, a service, whatever it might be, instead of having 30 different services or offers that you're going to have. So I'm speaking to myself right now.
Yep.
Just to try, because this is what I need to do, I feel like, is pick something. And then once I do that, it's fine to do some free work. But basically what you need to do, have a website, have a Google My Business profile, and then ask them to leave reviews. And this free work is going to help build you up, give some 5-star reviews, and then it's going to look like you actually have some business that you actually did. You're also going to have some portfolio work where you can say, this is what I did for a client. Say, for me, I was in talks with this girl. She's working on starting a business, and I was honestly going to make her a website for free, but she stopped reaching out to me. So that kind of sucks to be her.
Yeah.
And I was just going to be like, hey, I'm trying to start a business, so I'll do this for free. You just leave me a good review, 5 stars, obviously. And then I'll also have that under my belt, and I can send potential clients to this website, be like, hey, I made this website. This is what I can do for you. And then maybe it's also creating like a lead magnet or something like that. Now I'm starting to get off topic because I'm starting to come up with more offers where I'm branching out from too many. So narrow it down, get some free reviews. I think reviews are huge, and start charging after you do a few free projects, and maybe start out low, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Start generating some buzz around your name and adding some credibility to what you're about to offer. Tyler, anything else before we wrap the show up?
I don't have a quote, so if you want a quote, you have to do it yourself.
All right, cool. That's episode 28 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you have any questions you'd like us to cover or answer, you can email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. If you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with a friend or post it on your story. If you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating or a review on wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur. My quote is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Mike Tyson.
Beautiful.